Good morning. Last week we talked about trying to find the right neighborhood to purchase your home in, and we covered several topics that I think are very beneficial to consider because, as you're well aware, your home is pretty much packaged with your neighborhood. So this week we are going to talk about why is it a good idea to purchase your home in the winter. I'm Bev Curtis here at House of Brokers Realty with Bev and Company, and welcome to this morning's version of Breakfast with Bev. So we've got several people with us here this morning. I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Cheryl Moppin.
And I'm Olivia Curtis.
So Olivia Curtis happens to be a future Realtor of America. She is here this morning with us, all about the winter, why it's a good time to buy. It's a slower time of the year, and it's a late start for school this morning at 10 o'clock. So she is a guest speaker for us this morning, and she's going to help tell us some of the reasons why it's a good idea to purchase your home in the winter months. Okay?
And also we're here live in our brand new office for the first time ever, so that's exciting. Olivia, why is it a good time to buy real estate in the wintertime?
Because there's less buyers in winter.
That's exactly right. So there are less buyers in the winter. You can tell her mother is a realtor, can't you?
Starting
So,
young.
so less buyers in the winter. So what does that mean? So in an ideal world, it would be perfect if you could sell in the spring market, which is typically the peak season to sell and get your highest and best price. And if you could actually purchase in the fall and winter months, because simply that, there's less buyers in the marketplace, so there's less odds of driving up the price because not as many people are competing with the same properties. So it definitely makes a different type of offer from a buyer perspective.
Mm-hmm. And this really is the number one reason why it's so good to buy in winter. The spring market, everybody says, oh, the spring market's it's booming. Well, a booming market with tons of buyers isn't necessarily the best time for you to buy if you don't have to.
That's right. Now, sometimes life happens in just timing. It just doesn't work out and the stars doesn't align and you have to do within the time frame that you have to do it within. Perfectly normal on that. So, but I think as a general rule of thumb, if you can make it work where you could buy in the winter months, you typically are going to get a better buy and just better negotiation terms all the way around. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Sell in the spring and buy when the snow flies, and it's flying.
It is, and we're supposed to have more snow coming this weekend, and it's been our biggest dump of the year, that's for sure, as far as snowfall coming down. But so long as it's pretty, but I have to say, after you shovel it for a while, it loses its prettiness, doesn't it, Olivia? Yeah, so we got in on that this weekend big time, didn't we? So, okay.
And your daddy tuned in.
Well, Dad's probably surprised that you're actually on here as a featured speaker, but you know what? That's okay. Right? Okay. All right, moving on.
The second reason, typically you're going to see sellers that are extremely motivated in the winter time. And typically, a lot of times, we see an uprise in selling because of deaths. Families are selling their deceased parents' homes. We see a lot of job relocations at the end of the year. A lot of people are moving. And then sometimes financial reasons. Winter gets them strapped and, they want to downsize. Or maybe they get a big promotion at the end of the year and want to upsize. So either way.
Lots of reasons for people selling, that's for sure. Kind of like Cheryl said, job situations, family dynamics change. All sorts of varying reasons, but sometimes you are just in a situation where you just need to sell in the winter months. And, and real estate is cyclical. However, real estate does sell all year round. So that's something to keep in mind. But usually the supply of inventory is usually down in the winter months as well. And the demand is not as high. So when you couple that together, it does make a pretty good scenario to get a good buy.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes the homes on the market aren't just they've been sitting since fall or summer, since spring, So when they've been on the market that long and it's winter time, a lot of times, sellers are definitely a lot more open to offers.
Yes, because I think most people understand that if you carry a property over into a new spring market, it's kind of considered stale inventory. And it's always, it's tough to revive stale inventory and make that wow factor and that appealingness, back into the marketplace. So many times there has to be adjustments to the property. Maybe before the carpet wasn't replaced out and now the carpet does have to get replaced. Maybe it needs a facelift. Maybe it needs new paint. Maybe the price needs to be adjusted. It's not always the price. Sometimes it's just clearly the presentation. The presentation of a property makes or breaks the attractiveness for someone who wants to come in and view the property in person. So,
and then going back to our first reason, limited buyer competition, that creates less competing offers. So you're not going to be it's a lot less likely that you're going to be in a competing offer situation, multiple offers. That goes down significantly in the fall and especially in the winter.
Well, and that's the tough part of the spring market, I think, is that it's the thriving time of the year in the real estate cycle, no question about that. A lot more inventory comes on the market, but there's also a lot more buyers. And if you think about it, if you're looking for a certain type of property in a certain type of price range, there's probably a number of other people that are looking for the same thing that you're looking for all at the same time. Especially for like first-time home buyers in situations where they're coming out of leases. Those typically come due in like maybe March, April, May, and June. And so all of those same people are pretty much looking in your same price range. And so that's where it makes it tougher when something comes on the market that's really a great property, good schools, good location, fits that mold of what they're looking for. You could be up against 1, 2, 5, 7. Mm-hmm. You just never know how many other people are going to be bidding against you, so to speak, for that same property. And that's probably the biggest concern, I think, for a buyer is that you have to be very careful about getting caught up in the heat of the moment. Sometimes you think that, okay, I'm going to outbid them. I want this. It's almost the game of I'm going to get this property. But at the end of the day, did you overpay? Because the market, when you go to sell down the road, isn't really going to care that you had 7 other people that you were competing with and you won the property. That's all great and the enjoyment factor, but it is going to take some time then for the market to catch up with you so that you can, basically recoup back what you had to overpay to get the property. Mm-hmm. So keep it all into perspective because sometimes it's better to let that property go and wait it out for the next one so that you can get the best buy.
Mm-hmm. And at all possible, I know it's not always possible, but being able to find a way to put yourself in a position where you aren't stuck to like 30 days, I have to find a house, or like
right.
My lease comes to an end, if you can like try to work out like a month-to-month rental or find like temporary housing, it's going to help you in the negotiating if you are going to be in the spring market. So, or, and even if you can wait till the winter market. So if it is possible to do things that give you a little bit more bargaining power, that's always in your best interest.
Flexibility is key in the real estate market because once you're fixed and you're in this parameter that you're locked in, that's when the odds are you're going to pay more than probably what the market should really bear. Mm-hmm. Okay? All right, moving on.
And then another big one is that in the winter, the market has slowed down. So everyone, us included, lenders, inspectors, everybody's a lot less busy. So, closings can happen a little quicker. We can get inspections done quicker. Repair work that needs to be done before closing. Sometimes, depending on weather, that can be, moved along a little quicker. In the springtime, it can get pretty tricky, especially if you don't have, set handyman people in place that you work with quite often.
Well, and I think the thing is too is that when you're purchasing a property, whether it's in the fall and winter and the spring, if you have the assistance of a good buyer's agent to do a market analysis for you and actually show what the true comps are, because pricing is going to be different in the winter than it is in the spring. Mm-hmm. And so, don't get in the trap of paying a spring price in the fall and winter months. And so it's just as crucial. I think a lot of folks think, well, listing agents are the ones that actually do the market analysis and actually figure out what the value is. It's just as much the responsibility, in my opinion, as the buyer's agent to come in and do a true market analysis for the buyer so that you know that you're paying the correct price for the real estate cycle that you're actually purchasing in. So keep that in perspective as well. But once again, in the ideal world, if you could buy in the winter sell in the spring, or maybe you don't have something to sell, because if you're a first-time home buyer, that's your easiest real estate transaction you'll ever have, because you do not have something that you have to sell first to get your equity out of. And so that's a big deal when you're purchasing a property. So use that to your advantage and your leverage in that negotiation process.
And next week we are going to be giving a market update. So we're going to be going into, because I know probably another question everybody has is, well, what is considered the winter market? When does the spring market start? And that's different every year. There's definitely circumstances that play into that. And we're going to talk more about that next week. We're also going to give you guys a market update, what the market is currently doing, kind of our educated predictions on what we think this year is going to look like, when we think the spring market's going to happen. So we would greatly appreciate you all tuning in. We're going to talk about Callaway and Boone County. So we look forward to seeing you all next week.
Yes, I think you'll really enjoy the market stats to know exactly what's going on in the market. And as Cheryl said, we're very busy this time of year doing market assessments for folks and buyers that are looking to purchase and get into the buying game. Once again, we do have some school boundary things that we're kind of trying to, work our way through, as well as those final boundaries get determined here, hopefully by March or hopefully sooner. But I know that's a little bit of a hiccup in the market right now, just trying to get all that figured out. But if you're thinking of buying or selling, don't hesitate to reach out, because this is the perfect time while the snow's on the ground to do your homework and due diligence. Get your pre-approvals with a local lender of your choice, and get all your ducks in a row so that, when the spring does hit, if you're not ready to buy now in the winter months and can't really do that yet without selling your home, at least you're prepared when the time has come and you have that piece out of the way.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, thank you so much this morning for joining in with our Breakfast with Bev. Thank you, Olivia, for coming on, being our guest speaker. We greatly do appreciate that. So, and she's got a little Girl Scout uniform on, so if anybody needs Girl Scout cookies, she can sell them to you. So, anyway, thank you very much for joining in this week, and we look very forward to you having a safe weekend. Enjoy.